Hi.
Hello, hello. Ready to have a very stressful day?
No. I'm ready to have a very chill, relaxed time. We're gonna do some learning, have some fun, keep building our form. We're gonna get as far as we can. I've mapped it out. We're gonna hit some important parts, but
Oh, this is
just before
lying. I did more than this, right?
I did some of it yesterday.
Oh, we okay. You were just like I was like, obviously I did way more, and you're like, just now.
No. I mean, what I'm saying is we did it together. But
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, so we were supposed to try and get to 39 if we could.
correct.
So start from here.
So
Start from
so
40?
today we'll be starting from step 39. In case you're watching, you're like, wait, what happened to part one of this? Don't worry. That's on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@badwebsiteclub. You can check everything. We're streaming pretty much every weekday at this time until the 5th of April. I'll drop a link to the
Yes.
schedule, but I think that's about it. Shall we start zooming through this?
Yeah. So JavaScript has a feature called template literals, which allow you to inter
Interpolate.
interpolate.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I obviously know what the word interpolate means, but please.
um this is going to be a new concept that we'll be using, which is a new way of writing strings that have values in them. And we've already done this before by concatenating strings. But using template literals, we can kind of write a whole string, and with these special characters, which we'll see in just a moment, we can interpolate, or as Tina puts it, insert, which is a much better way of putting it, values directly into a string. So I know our console log isn't quite working yet, but if you'll venture with me, Jess, into down to the code, let's try making a template literal real quick.
Okay.
Let's add a new line here. So let's make a const called let's call it addition. So before
Okay.
the equal sign, we'll call it addition.
Oh, you might wind up driving again today.
You're totally good. So we're going to make that equals to, and here we're going to use template literals, which is instead of using quote marks for strings, we're using backticks.
Oh, you might, because I don't know where the backtick is on my keyboard.
I can switch if we want.
If that's okay, sorry, I'm being a goofball. I've got a keyboard that isn't actually mapped to what it shows on the keys. Because why would you have that? Why would you have
N-
a keyboard that's actually mapped to the right things?
No worries at all. I have the same. I have a weird keyboard as well. So the backtick, I believe it's at the top left of an English keyboard. You can find it in several. Oh, there you go. Tina says Alt and 96 on the UK keyboard for backticks. They kind of look like single quote marks, but they're kind of tilted sideways. So uh, this lets you write strings as you would any other string, right? So this
Yeah.
technically gives us a string. What's cool about template literals is that we can also use them to directly insert values, and that's with the $sign and curly brackets. So now inside these curly brackets, we can write a JavaScript expression. So for example,
Oh,
this would give us the string that says 2 plus 3 equals, and then the number 5. This would look like this. 2 plus 3 equals 5. This works, and because it's an expression, this can also be with variables. Say we have, I don't know, sum. This can be with function calls. So this JavaScript expression will be executed, and then the returning result will be interpolated or inserted into the string.
cool.
Does that make sense?
Interpret so just to say it back to you in a different way,
Yep,
template literal is a fancy way to make strings that you can push some functionality into.
correct. It is the
Yeah.
same as doing this. Hold on.
And this is if we had a sum function.
Correct. If we had a
Yeah.
sum function. But you see, I don't have to be adding strings. I can just have one string and have it be interpolated.
Yep. Okay, I'm cautiously with you. Let's go, go, go.
Yeah. So and here we're going to be replacing one of them. So document query selector, instead of having target ID plus and then this string, we're going to turn this into a template literal.
So we're
So
gonna delete. We're
we're
gonna
going to
delete.
this
We could delete
content
all of
here.
it and put the backticks.
Yep. So we're going to use $sign. That's not a $sign. So
$sign
target
curly braces.
ID.
Okay. Okay, so here, the input container is gonna be that's gonna show in our string. So it's gonna show so it's the query
So this
selector.
Yeah, so what we're changing is so this document query selector stays the same. We're still going to
Yep.
query that query selector, but instead of adding two strings together, we're interpolating them into one.
Cool. Let's go. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Pat, pat. Let's keep going.
I'm going to abandon you for just a second because everything is fine. I'll be right back.
Take your time. So thanks to template literals, I don't actually need that variable target ID. So I'm going to remove that variable and update the template literal here with the entry dropdown dot value. So what it's saying here is replace this target ID variable with this expression here. So first thing we need to do is delete this variable. I'm going to comment it out just for now, just for myself, and replace that with this entry dropdown dot value. But remember, we still need that hashtag at the beginning. Now you'd think we put it here, but remember, the hashtag isn't a valid JavaScript expression. It is part of a string. So we actually want to put it here at the very beginning. And that way we've got our hashtag, then this interpolated string value here, and then our input container. So I delete this. And now I've, depending on how you want to look at it, simplified things just a touch, eliminated one line of code. So does that look good? It does indeed. Pat, pat. We'll keep going. So we'll want to number the entries a user adds. We talked about query selector all a few lessons ago. So when we use query selector all, instead of getting the first element that matches a CSS selector, we will get a node list of all of the elements that match that CSS selector. It's kind of like an array, so you can access the elements in them using bracket notation.
Okay. So we're going to abstract this away for right now. If folks want to read about node list, I'll grab node list on MDN.
Thank you very much. So we'll declare.
But right now, we're just going to think about it as though it's a array. We're just going to treat it like an array.
Yep. So target input container, that's our new container variable here, dot query selector all. And notice we haven't passed an argument yet. We're going to pass that argument in a bit, which remember is a CSS selector. So that looks good. Pat, pat. We'll keep going. So each entry is going to have that text input for the entry's name and a number input for the calories. So we will query all of the text inputs and we'll get the number of them using the length property.
Okay.
So we can't query by number input, so we're going to have an extra number input for the user's calorie budget. So to do that, we're going to query all of the inputs. That's our CSS selector. And using this bracket notation in the CSS selector, we're going to check that these inputs have the type property set to text. Now, hold on.
Okay, yeah. So const entry. Oh, wait. Okay. If anybody else wants to guess what they think this does, I think I might be able to guess what's going on here, but I'm like 40% sure.
Well, I don't know if you can see, folks, we've got a problem here.
Oh. Okay,
See,
so
I tried using this, but my JavaScript is getting messed up. The problem is my string is single quotes. Sorry, double quotes.
oh, and if you so I
If I
remember
ch-
this. We need to alternate what kinds of quotes we use. Otherwise, JavaScript gets confused about like, "Oh, are you ending this quotation or starting a new one?" So,
yeah,
yeah, Scar's got it. Absolute sweethearts. It's like, "Hey, cool. You can use quotes inside of quotes. You just need to alternate single and double as you go in."
exactly. So calling target input container with query selector all is going to give us a node list or an array like thing of all of the elements that have the CSS selector. But that's not quite what we want, because we want the entry number. How many of them?
Yeah.
That's where the length property comes in.
So,
Ooh,
just gonna talk through this function really fast. Oh, no,
yeah.
you said, "Ooh."
Oh, no. We have a question from Tower of Brilliance, and I like this. Can we use backticks? Technically, you can, because it is a template literal. However, and don't quote me on this. I believe I've read that these are slower than strings,
But,
because I
like,
need to like look through them to see if there's values to be interpolated. So if you don't have values to interpolate, just stick with the quote marks.
okay. So backticks are the fancy ones. We can think of them as a little bit more expensive computationally.
Correct.
So just to talk through this, I've got a function, add
Yep.
entry. I've got
Yep.
I've got a variable that's set to target input container. It looks like what we're saying here is, hey, this is the little input box we're looking at. Yeah.
So
And it's the
get
drop
which one
down.
of these is selected.
Yeah.
So get which one of these is selected and look inside its container.
It's okay. And the container we're looking at is set to target input container. Okay. Cool, 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 cool. The const entry number here is getting the number of characters that have been put into the target input container we're looking at. And it's doing that by saying target input container. So that's the variable we set. The query selector all. Hey, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the text, the input type text. So I want the input type of text. Okay. But give me the length of that.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
saying it's saying, "Hey, can you get me the container that corresponds to the type of meal that I've selected here? And once you've got that, can you take a look inside there and get me all of the HTML elements with this selector? So they're inputs
Okay.
that are of type text, and just like give me how many there are."
Cool, cool, cool. So when I say so const target input container says, "Hey, look, go and whatever I've picked on the drop down,
Yep, we see that
get
here.
me the corresponding container."
Mhm.
Okay, 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 okay. But then for entry number, I'm saying, "Hey, the container I'm looking at, the container I've already specified," and the query selector all is saying, "Go and get the text input that's associated with the container I'm looking at and
Inside
give me
them.
inside them. Yep. And give me the length of the input there.
Not the length of the input, the length of the
Characters.
amount of no. So think of it as um, there is a number of inputs. There's going to be a number of input elements inside each of these containers, right? One per entry.
Yes. Oh,
So what we're doing here is saying, "Hey, go get me all of the input elements and just tell me how many there are."
okay. I don't love it, but we can keep going.
Jane's asking, "Is it like the index of each element?" And not quite. What we're really doing is saying, "Hey, I've picked something here, right? Let's say I've picked breakfast, right?
Okay.
Now, if we go back to our HTML real quick, and let's step through this. We want to
Yeah,
make
yeah,
sure
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah. Oh,
so
for the learner's sake,
each
definitely for them.
each no for me too.
So
Um,
when I pick breakfast, I know that I'm looking at the breakfast box because they've got the same ID?
Correct.
Okay.
So we've got a bunch of field sets here, which are these things you see here.
Okay.
Notice they have the ID breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, exercise, and so on. So this entry dropdown dot value is going to be like, cool, what's selected here? Oh, breakfast? All right. So go get me the element
The
with this
ID
ID.
of breakfast. Okay. Cool, 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 cool.
Yeah. And get its corresponding input container.
Go get me the box that my users can put stuff in.
See, each field set has an input container.
Okay.
So now they don't have them yet, but we will
Steven makes
expect,
that point.
yeah,
So, oh, and Starbucks' point. So if we run this function now, it's 0 because there's no input yet. I love this. We have to hold the model of the form in our minds. So this is
correct.
confusing because we're building something around input that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah,
Let's this sounds unkind. Let's push on and let's see if this
yeah,
makes more sense as we build it out.
totally. I just want to add one more part to this just to make sure we're on the same page. So in here we could have, I'm just going to write this for fun. Type equals text. Okay. We can see I've got one here.
Yeah.
Right? So I've selected breakfast. It's going to get breakfast input container inside the breakfast. Inside that container, let's look up all of the inputs of type text. There could be other inputs. There could be of type number. There could be of type checkbox. And with length, we're saying, give me the number of elements with this CSS selector. Right now, how many?
1?
One.
Oh, okay. Yeah, look, can we do that again? No, we're live. Be like 1. Cool. I liked it better when I was like very, very confident and wrong. It feels
Oh,
weirder to be not confident and technically correct.
but hey, I'm with you, Jess. Let's push on. Pat, pat.
Let's push on.
Ah,
So, okay. We're gonna do the string with the backticks, the string literal. Okay. We're gonna make it
HTML. So now we're going to build we're going to write HTML into a string.
cool. I don't like that at all, but I'm with you.
Tower of Brilliance, I just want to ask, why doesn't the input already have type text for the input, like input type number? But it does. It did. You saw that I wrote input type text.
Oh,
Or
we
maybe I
haven't put him
misunderstood your
in.
question.
Oh, it's because we didn't put him in our. So that's because you were sort of previewing what we're going to be doing in a couple steps.
Correct.
I think.
No,
Yep.
I wrote type
So Tower,
whatever.
you're absolutely right. We're just getting there by degrees.
Yeah. So cool. We're building a new HTML string.
We're
Let's
fine
push
with
on.
this. Yeah, this is the shell. This can't hurt us. Inside our template literal.
So we're inside. You see that it's split over 3 lines.
Okay, I was gonna say go up, go up. Create a label element.
So remember we're writing HTML into a string.
Oh, I needed my emotional support hoodie. No. 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 This feels faintly illegal.
So instead of the hashtag, we're going to replace that using our template literal syntax with the value of entry number.
So that's
So
a
now
$sign.
$sign and the curlies.
Yeah. And then inside that, we're going to add the entry number variable to give us the value that we get from the function above us that doesn't really work yet. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Surprise, pat, pat. And Jane is asking, would we actually do this in the real world?
Writing HTML dynamically, it has been done. Let's put it that way. I think, don't quote me on this, I think you might have heard of something called React or React.js. I'm not going to go too far into what that is. I'll just say, I believe that's how they build their HTML. But again, not
can do
relevant to us.
it, but we don't love it.
So our label will have a for attribute
Okay.
with the value of x dash hashtag dash name, where X is the value of the entry dropdown element, and hashtag is the value of entry number.
Okay, so we're gonna say, oh wait, we've got to put string literals in there again with the $sign and.
Correct.
Oh, cool, cool, cool. I didn't like this at all, but I mean, I still don't like this at all.
So we want the entry dropdown value. We've done it before. I'm going to copy it from here.
Yeah. I feel like the web boot camp was both of us like, oh, let's do this together. I'm concerned that for the learners, the JavaScript boot camp is just me screaming no every time we get a new concept that I'm not chill with.
So,
Um,
and this is the entry number.
okay.
So this looks confusing, but what we're doing here in our dynamic HTML, and dynamic here really is that it's created on the fly, right?
Okay, so this HTML doesn't exist until this JavaScript runs. That's
Correct.
what you mean.
Well, actually, it doesn't exist until we put it into our DOM. Right now, we're
Yeah,
just writing
okay.
HTML. We're just writing a string
Wh
here.
but so right now we're just writing a string. Eventually, we're gonna have to, like, kick that stream into our HTML. We're gonna have to make fetch happen.
Correct.
Hmm.
So, but this
No,
looks
no,
complicated.
no.
Let's just walk through it. So we've got label 4. We've seen HTML before. In here, we're going to have entry dropdown value, which we know to be breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, or exercise. So it's going to be one of these dash entry number,
Which is
which
gonna
could
be
be
the number of which we've just written this code, that's gonna be the number of entries right above for const entry number. That's gonna be the number of entries in the box that we're looking at.
yeah.
Cool, cool. I
Tell you
mean,
what,
sort of
this seems complicated. Do you know what I do when something seems complicated? I open up
cry.
Python Tutor. Nah.
Okay, because like, I do hate to pick on you for being terrible all the time, but now you're just like, "Oh, yeah, now that just knows about Python Tutor, we can use it all the time."
Let's just make this an object because it needs a property value equals breakfast. Uh-huh. And const entry number is, let's just make it a 5. So entry drop down is not, look at me not being able to spell. Entry drop down, and I wrote entry drop down.
Oh, do you know what? I hear that JavaScript is case sensitive.
It is. So here we are. We've got our object entry dropdown with a value of breakfast. We've got our entry number set to 5. And here comes the big one. Our label, check it out.
Okay.
Label 4, and there's breakfast dash 5 dash name entry 5 name.
Okay. And you know what? I'm gonna go a little bit out of pocket and say like, hey, do you know what's cool is we just need to learn this for this piece of the course. If you get through this and you're like, I don't like making my HTML with JavaScript, I don't like dynamically adding it to the page, you can go a long way in web development without doing it.
So let's pat and move on.
This is not like you'll never use it. Be like, "Oh, you know what? If this is something that, like, sits on a little shelf in your heart and you need to look up the syntax when you try it again, cool, cool."
So we're going to add a new line to our template string, create
Are
an
we?
input element.
This is
Give it
where
a
our text input's coming from. We're making it and then so what's gonna happen is there's not gonna be an input box until we select it in the drop down, and then it's gonna dynamically add it for us?
Yeah. And this is pretty dense.
I'm right here
And
and I can hear you.
um, so we've got our attribute set to our placeholder attribute set to name, type is text, and the ID matches the for attribute of your label element. Matches. Match to me sounds like copy
3
paste.
equals. Oh, match oh, we're not evaluating that's a match, it's
So There we go. We've got our new input type text, placeholder's name, and the ID is the same as the for of the label. And we learned that back in the HTML days, a for of a label has to correspond to the ID of an input.
Yes.
So that's why they match.
I think it like, do you know what else feels illegal? Is this is the hard parts of forms plus
Yep.
hmm.
Let's keep going.
And do you know what? We're only gonna do this one today. After today, we'll like the boot camp's not over. We got more stuff tomorrow. Create another label element. So on a new line. Okay.
So I'm going to keep adding to this very, very long string.
And I'm actually gonna drop.
So new label should have the text entry number calories. So label entry hashtag calories.
Using your template literal syntax. Okay, so you're gonna really say entry
Oh,
and then $ wiggle wiggle baby. And then inside the wiggle wiggle baby, you want entry number.
we've done that
Uh,
before.
yeah. So this feels really similar to what we've just done.
Yep. In fact, oh, the for is X hashtag calories. And that's very similar to the for of the name. So let's just type it out here. For is equals to quote, quote. And here we're going to
I
have X hashtag. Sorry, Jess, I interrupted
no,
you.
no, and these X and this hashtag, these are just stand-ins. These are just like not JavaScript variables, but they're like variables in a math sense or in a. These are just like placeholders until we add in what we're putting in here. Okay. I find the placeholder and then replacing it a little bit more confusing.
Yeah,
Um, but
that looks good.
does it? I'm not doubting you. Pat. Okay.
So we've created another label.
And if you, like me, are screaming in your heart quietly into a void that is only open now, we can just spend some time playing with this. We can just experiment. Yeah.
Sorry. Do you have it in front of you, Jess, so I don't have to scroll
Oh,
up and down a lot? Step
ye
48.
yeah, do you know what? Let's drop it into the chat just to make this as chaotic as we can. Or I can do it in the voice. No, I'll put it in the chat.
Min
Finally, on a new
equals
line.
0.
I got you.
Min equals 0. Thank you.
Yeah. We've got a secret chat that y'all can't see where it's just us like, aren't the learners clever? Aren't they cool?
Jane, you're asking where the closing is meant to be? It's right there at the end of the template literal. Always at the end.
Okay, so this const is one giant template literal. So this is one giant string of HTML.
Yep. In
Cool,
fact,
cool.
what I'm
I
going to
mean,
do
not
is
cool, not cool. Like
could be
definitely
cooler.
illegal, definitely immoral. So yeah, Jane's asking, so this covers all three of these new elements are in the same string that we're going to dynamically inject,
Yep.
insert. So all three of these, so the new label, labels and labels, it's a lot. Personally, I think this is a little bit too much going on, and this is a little bit too much for me. But apparently, JavaScript's just chill with it. Do you know what? If you're confused here, this is actively confusing. This is a lot.
What I'll do, if I may, let's
You
try it
may
in
not.
Python. I might anyway. I'm sorry. Let's just drop it into Python tutor just to see what this gives us. But look, now that we have a little bit more space, you can see what we're essentially doing is building out these 4 HTML.
And the formatting here makes it feel a little bit less like it hurts us. I mean, it still hurts me.
So remember that our entry dropdown value is breakfast. Our entry number is 5. And check it out.
Okay, so it's one big HTML string. Just one
It's
string HTML. Just.
so it's just a bunch of HTML.
Okay. Okay. I mean, okay. Let's pat. So inside our new HTML content for the target input container, we're going to need to use the inner HTML property. The inner HTML property sets or returns the HTML content inside an element. Okay. What I think what this says is inner HTML will either go get the HTML of the element we're looking at, or it'll set.
Yeah, it's a property. So
Okay.
just like any other property, we can query its value or set its value.
Okay. So inner HTML is sort of us saying, here, put this HTML here, or hey, return this to me. I'd like to see the HTML that's in the element I've asked to look at.
Yeah.
I'd like you to return it to me. I'd like you to give me that value. Okay.
So what we can do, for example, is get a form by querying its ID, write some HTML that we're going to add to that form, and then what we're going to be doing is setting that inner HTML to be that inner HTML plus the HTML we've just written here.
Okay, so the plus equal will add that HTML in.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
it sounds like I'm doubting you.
No, you're totally good. Let me show you what let
Yeah.
me walk you through what'll happen. So we're gonna target input container.inner HTML. So target input container.inner HTML plus equals HTML string. Now let's let me walk through in my head for just a minute. We've
Okay.
just made this massive string of HTML here. Now we remember that our target input container, I'm just going to quickly hop
Yep.
over to the HTML.
I've got you. That's going to be the input container that corresponds to the value of the dropdown that's selected.
Correct. So
Okay.
we're going to set its inner HTML to be whatever it is at the moment plus this massive string.
Oh, and we're doing that because we're not going to wipe out the HTML in the element and start over. We need to say,
Yes.
look, I know you've got some HTML in this element. Could you just add this HTML as well? And then we're good.
Yes.
I mean, we're not
but
good. We're still outraged.
Well, the keen-eyed among you might be like, but Ramon, there is no HTML in here. So why am I adding it to it if it doesn't exist? Great point. The thing is, this function is going to be called, this add entry function is going to be called more than once. So yes, there isn't any now, but if we keep adding entries, just one more time over, we're going to be adding more entries. And we don't want to reset all of the entries. We just want to add an entry to an existing set of entries. Gosh,
And Tina makes a solid point. Like, if we write a bunch of code and we get stuck and we don't want to like mess it all, there's a reset to say, hey, just reset the stuff I've written on the stage. Thank you so much. Like, it's
love it.
hard. Okay. So
Pat?
we get every pat. So in the role playing game, we learned how to set a button by editing it. It's on click. Okay. We can also use an event listener like on click to.
So
Okay, yeah. You take this.
no, you're good. Please go ahead.
So we can edit an element's behavior using an event listener here as well. So something like on click, and we could, if we say, oh, on click, push some extra HTML in here. So here, what we're going to do is, I think we're probably going to do it when it says add entry. I think. Oh, okay. I was having a difficult time. It's just got my name in the middle of the example code for unrelated terror reasons. To be fair, there's a lot of Jessicas. So let's talk through it. Add the event listener method that takes 2 arguments. The first is the event to listen to the click. Okay.
Yep.
And the second is the function that runs when it's triggered. Cool.
Yes.
Call the event listener on click. Okay. As the first argument. Add event listener, click. Cool. And it's going to be when we click the add entry button.
So what we're doing here is saying for the add entry button variable, you know what? It's been a while. Let me scroll up real quick. What is add entry button? It is the element with the ID add entry, which is a button. Cool.
Oh, which is that little babby right there. Babby being a
So,
very highly technical term.
so that button, we're going to call on that button the
Dot
function add
add
event.
event listener.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
It's 2
And
arguments.
and that was gonna be click?
Yep. And the second one is
It's gonna be the function we've just written about the adding the HTML,
yes.
which is
So,
called something.
so what we've done is, hey, we've said, hey button, here, like I want you to start listening out for this event. Which event?
A
Click.
click. And it just knows what a click is.
It knows what a click is. The
All right.
browser the browser here is saying there's a bunch of events that are possible.
Yeah.
When this event happens, call this function.
Function. We don't
I'm
need
gonna bring up
this.
we're going to bring up Steven here real quick. They're referring to a callback function here because the add event listener is a function and the callback function is simply a function called by another function. Hold on. Yes. Let's unpack that real quick.
No.
Remember that add entry is a function.
Yes.
If we console log add entry, we're not going to get whatever add entry returns. It's just going to give us the function. If I put in the brackets, it's going to it called the function.
I was gonna say, because you were saying, oh, add entry is a function. I was like, but we need the smooth braces, otherwise we're not going anywhere.
We're having a reference to that function. So what is a callback function? This function that gets called when this event takes place, we're saying, hey, when you're done, when you've got that whole event thing sorted, call this. That's a callback. That's a callback.
Okay. Callback is a function that's called by another function.
Correct. Now, and you can see it here.
Oh, no, not now, because you're gonna be like, now let's make this more complex. And nobody wants.
No.
I just want to say that if stuff gets harder after the step, it's Ramon's fault.
Very fair. I'll happily take the blame. But now we can start looking at this. Remember, we got entry 0 name. How many entries are there? 0. I've got breakfast selected, so it looked like, cool, that's the breakfast container. How many entries are there? How many text entries are there? At the time, 0. So, and entry something. Name, well, the number is 0, so plop.
Okay.
Entry 0 calories, plop. Yeah? What happens when I press it again? Well, now there's 1 entry already. So, cool. Entry number is now 1. The function just got called
very
again when
Hobbit, very second breakfast. Love it.
What happens if I select a different dropdown? Let's go on snacks. Big fan of snacks. There we go. Now it's added here because entry dropdown value is snacks, not
And you
breakfast.
know what I bet we're going to change? I bet we're going to change that starting from 0 thing at some point as well.
Could be. But I want to look at this event listener one more time because there's something we've done before.
Okay.
Add entry button dot add event listener click add entry is equivalent to this.
Okay. Okay, so on click and add event listener are functionally doing the same thing here. They say, hey, when these are 2 different built-in ways to get the same thing. So add event listener is saying, hey, I want you to I want you to chill out and wait for something to happen. Wait for a specific set event. And here the set event is click. But on click is kind of a method that does the exact same thing, but it's built in just for clicking.
Correct. Now you're probably wondering, why do I want to do it with this add event listener when I could do it with on click? Now, Mehmet actually referred to a couple of other types of events. On mouse hover, on mouse leaves. So there are other types of events. Eric, I saw your comment. I want to address that at the end because I think it's super important.
Yeah, my answer is crying.
So this works, right? Cool. Pat. Okay, and
we did.
Jess, you were absolutely right. So the first bug we noticed is that the first entry should have a count of 1, not 0.
Yeah,
Th-
and I'm not even gonna look because I know, or I think I know, that we could do this because this happens because counting in JavaScript starts at 0, but we could just start at we could just add +1 to the length when we inject that number.
Correct. So this is because there's currently no event. So how do we set this to start at 1?
I'd say just put +1 after that length.
So now
Wait, no,
it'll start at
is that
1.
right? That
That is
was
absolutely,
right. Okay, no, yeah, that was totally right.
because now we're always setting that to be as, hey, whatever it is, add 1 to it.
Okay. I'm much less freaked out by this than I was by that giant wall of HTML that we were doing.
Looks good.
Okay.
Let's pat
Yeah,
that.
well, I mean
The other bug occurs when we add a breakfast entry, fill it in. Oh,
uh,
coffee.
I don't like, oh, it's a clear so if we add that entry
So if I click on add entry again,
oh, yeah. That would annoy me all day.
so the updating the inner HTML does not preserve the input content. So instead of
Okay.
changing the inner HTML, we're going to use a different function called insert adjacent HTML. And adjacent here means next
Next
to.
door.
Yeah. So instead of taking the inner HTML property and adding to it, because we're still setting it, right? The plus equals is setting a new value.
Yeah.
What we're going to do instead, I'm just going to comment this out, is say target input container and call the function on it insert
Adjacent HTML.
HTML. And that
I just
takes one argument, which is HTML string. Woo!
we don't
Sorry,
have to
Jess.
say we don't have to say the plus equals anymore, it just knows?
Yeah, because this function will take this value and insert it adjacently. That is next to the existing HTML
Okay,
content.
so this is a little bit like how onClick was a more like a version of add event listener click that only does that one thing. And this sounds like a similar thing to say, "Hey, look, I know that you're going to insert something in the HTML right where you're at. Let's just do that."
Mistake. I made a mistake. To use target input container.
Oh, do not pass any arguments yet. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, fine.
And learners, I do it pat. Y'all are so patient with me learning along with you and watching me emotionally spiral. So it takes 2. The first is the string that specifies the position of the inserted element. So that's what we're gonna pass in.
Oh,
Cool. And the
right.
second wait, no, I wasn't done.
Oh, sorry.
The second is a string containing the HTML to be inserted. Okay. Cool. So yeah, maybe.
So it takes 2 arguments. The first one is a position, because of course you could insert at the beginning or at the end. So we need to be very specific about before end. Is it written like that? Yeah.
Hmm.
So the second argument is the HTML we want to insert, which is our HTML string. So where in this HTML do we put it? Before the end. What HTML do we put in? This.
Okay, and I just wanna say we've not seen this before end syntax before. This is brand new.
Which one?
Um, the before end?
It's a string.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not a string that exists anywhere on our page. It's just something that we know because it was in the instructions.
Yeah, I would have to look this up on MDN.
Yeah.
Let's look it up on MDN. Just gonna pass this to y'all. So takes two arguments, and here's a bunch.
Okay, and so these are the parameters. These are the preset arguments we could pass in, So just inside the element after its last child. Okay, cool, 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 cool. So these are kind of what they sound like. So before beginning, insert this before the element if you can.
Yep.
After beginning, insert this right as the element begins before its first child. Okay. So me in my heart, I was like, I didn't see before end anywhere in our code before this. We're not referring to something else we made. We're referring to a preset parameter that this accepts.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Sorry to slow y'all down. Everything's as fine as it's getting.
This is good to know.
Yeah.
So cool. Now let me try it. So add entry. There we go. It's not being lost.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to see if that gave us a little green stripe that we can rejoice at?
It does.
Oh, pat. So, so so now we're gonna get a list of our inputs and then add them up later on, I bet. So we're just making a function get calories from inputs, and the inside the smooth braces, it's just gonna say list. And then we just have our curly braces and we're fine.
So new function takes an argument called list. Cool.
Yeah. So now I'm okay. We're not gonna do anything weird. Nothing else can hurt us. We're just gonna like go.
Well, I hope so.
So
Okay.
calories variable and assign it to 0. It's a what are you doing? It's a counter. Yeah, it's fine. We're just gonna like add to that as we go. I see a lot of plus equals in our future.
Very likely.
The list parameter is gonna be a list of query. So list is gonna be the result of a query selector, which is gonna return node list. Cool. A node list is like an array, and the big thing we're gonna stress is we don't need to go into why it's not like an array now.
Nah.
It's not like an array for kind of fussy, complex reasons, and until we start to engage with them, they can't hurt us. So we're gonna abstract that away from now. We could talk about it in Discord, we could talk about it next year. Y'all can learn about it and teach me.
I'll be
Um
honest. I didn't know that node lists were a thing until today, and I've used
Oh,
query selector all a whole bunch.
oh, cool. We don't even need we should probably know what it is because it's in our learning material.
But
So
we're gonna we're,
no.
we're gonna loop over our node list before we look at this new type of loop. Let's just look at how we would usually do a for loop, and we've done this
Yeah.
before. So for
For smooth braces,
um,
let I because we it's
mhm,
I think it might have been Tina who let us know that I usually stands for iterable or iteration or
iterable,
itty.
yeah.
Um,
So there's our for loop, and we want a const element equals list at I.
okay, so can we talk about this really fast just because Tower's asking if we're gonna go over node lists in this course in more detail. We are not. I don't think so. I hope
I have
not.
no idea.
I'm not.
I mean, we can, but I gotta be honest with y'all. We can read up on it later, but I've really as far as I'm concerned, they're like arrays. I usually just need to loop over them. There are some concepts in programming that where I see something being like this, like node list, kind of like for an array, and I'm like, look, if it's mostly like an array, that's fine.
Yeah.
Then that's good enough for me. But
I mean,
okay,
if
so
you can
we've
treat yeah.
sorry.
No. I was gonna like if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's mostly an array for as far as we care.
Yeah.
For now.
So let I equal 0. The condition is I must be smaller than list.length I plus plus. This is how we loop over every element in the list. There is an alternative for this called the for of loop. This, my friends, is my favorite loop in the world. I
Is it?
highly recommend getting to know this loop. So the equivalent way of writing this is for const element of list.
Okay.
There it is. So this is the same as this.
No, hang on. I said, "Okay," because I was gonna go get the MDN link for people, and I was just like, "Oh, yeah, okay." This feel and I know that different things are hard for different people, we really stress this and different I'm so emotionally I don't know if emotionally is the right word. I'm so emotionally okay with this. This feels like a human sentence.
Yeah.
I mean, folks, learning along with us, how do you like this? But and here I'm saying the condition for while we're gonna go through this loop is for the elements in this so for as many elements that I've got in this list, that's how many times we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
It's
Sorry, I've been like,
amazing.
"No, that's horrible," this whole time. This this doesn't suck. This is fu Mario puts frames this much better, reading it as for each element of the list.
Yeah.
Um,
For each
so we could
element in this
say
list.
4 breeds of dog if I had a list of dogs, and I wanna say, "Oh, for every breed of dogs in the list."
So
For
please. So folks are asking questions, and I want to take a minute to go through each of these. Can't see how these are the same. For of still needs the expression in the smooth brackets. Oh, it is in the smooth brackets. Yeah, yeah. Um, didn't ask. Someone asked what syntactic sugar is. I think it's this loop. Is element an object? Okay. Y'all are asking great questions that I know where we can go to answer them. My good friend Python tutor. So let me list equals, let's make an array here of hello friends
enemies.
enemies.
I mean, look, I just wanna keep it a little spicy. I don't know how to spell enemies either.
Cool.
What else
Everyone's
is there?
asking
Friends, enemies, and more.
so for const item of list, let's just console log item, keep it simple. So we've got our list of strings, hello friends enemies and more. Let's go into our first one. So it's going to assign the first item in the list to item. So item is hello. We'll console log item. Hello. Now it's at the next one. It'll be like, cool. Now take the next element and assign it to const item. Answering your question, Mal, why const? Won't that require to not change rather than iterate? Well, it's being redeclared in every step. So that variable in that outside, remember scope, outside of this for loop, item doesn't exist. So we're just redeclaring, reinstantiating this variable every step. So now item is friends. Console log item. Now item is the next one, enemies. Console log that. Next one, and console log that. Now it's more, console log that. And then we're done. Let's look at the other way of writing this loop.
I mean, I do apologize. I know it can be really stressful when you see something brand new and you say, "Oh, that's so hard," and somebody else is like, "This is easy for" that's
No.
remember that a lot of y'all were just like, "Yes, yes, yes. I love it." Oh, I was just gonna say, I saw somebody who the other day who was like, "Yeah, I love a, regex," and it was Kristen. Whereas I was spiraling in despair. I yeah, just keep in mind that when other people are really chill about stuff and it's really stressful for you, that's just how brains work. And this for loop, even this for loop with the let I, this is still new for us.
Yeah.
So to say, hey, you've just gotten used to this, we're gonna give you a brand new one. Feels a little cruel, but
So I is 0. Const item is equals to list I. So that's hello.
okay.
Console log that. I is now 1. I is still smaller than list length. Now you might be wondering, well, if I've got this, why would I ever need a for loop like this? Well, because you're not going to always be iterating through all of the items in a list.
Oh, so you don't always necessarily want everything.
Correct.
Okay.
And Steven's got it. So the keyword the keyword of is always this specific iteration. No, not necessarily. Because here we're just saying, hold on, let me take a step back. Let me console log I. This loop doesn't do anything with the items anymore, does it? Now it's just going, hey, go from 0 to however many items there are in this array and print them out.
Yeah, okay.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice we're not iterating through all of the items in the array. If we wanted to, we would need to access the member of that array. So in a for of loop, we're not doing any addition, no I plus 5, there's no I. So that's an important distinction to bear in mind.
So because we don't have, so when these for of loops, we don't have to set a temporary variable for I. It's not temporary. We don't have to set a placeholder variable for I because we're saying, hey, look, this syntax, the for of, knows that I mean, go get all of the consts in the list. Go get, if I've got a I just really want somebody to give me a basket of puppies. If I've got a basket full of puppies, I could say for all of the puppies in the basket.
Go through each puppy in the basket, yes.
And kiss them on their little head, put them back. Oof.
Yes.
Puppies, light, just air kisses.
So friends, you might be looking at how many steps we're in, and there's something like 90 steps, I believe.
Okay, so usually when you give homework, I'm like, ha ha ha.
No, we're not. Sorry.
The one thing I would want to say is this for of is the last brand new scary concept we're going to learn in this lesson. So here we're still doing stuff that's hard. And we are going to abandon you pretty soon, but we're intentionally abandoning you. I mean, we both love you very much, but we're intentionally giving you some space to reason through these things because we hope we've described some of the core concepts we're looking at here.
Exactly.
It does sound really, really cruel, but a big part of actually cementing this learning is I've done a little bit of, it's a very Hellraiser take. We're like, okay, you've done just enough suffering. But these problem solving and really trying to understand and being a little bit unhappy kind of gets you there. Like this is where what makes the oh, it was that stick in your heart.
Yeah. That's something that comes up super often.
Oh, and Mitch has got my back. As you know, as soon as I see somebody say Jess is right, it's going up on the screen. Mitch says Jess is right. Oh, and Mitch beats about everything, but very specifically, the middle part that we just did is the hardest, and the last bit's going to feel easier. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. It's different things are hard.
So, Stephen B, before I answer your question in the Q&A, what's a method? First.
Oh, wait.
Second, let's do this. Oh, sorry.
Before you do, we're going to be winding down in a little bit. Can we grab questions from anybody else who has those?
Yeah, please bring them in.
Sorry.
So here we've got, so each of the items in our list, in our node list, is going to be input elements from which we can get a value attribute or property. So we will declare a new variable called curval. What is that curval? Huh?
I don't like it, but is it current value? And they've just abbreviated it so you don't have to write it out every time.
Yeah, so curval stands for current value. This is not a best practice. This is not like the end all be all ways of writing variable names. It's not a bad one. It is once you get the context of like, oh, cool. I understand. I know that we're looking at the current value, then you can sort of like piece it together. So it is shortened from current value, which is wordy, but yeah, that's how we That's
And
what I've
Mehmet
heard.
said that before we did. I just didn't see it. So I put Jane's up there because I thought it was funny and cute. Um, so Mehmet was just like, I got y'all. It's the current value. Jane said, oh, curried value. Kirsten instead going very Victoria on this, an angry dog named Val, occur.
Oh,
So,
so
and the other thing I want to say is because I'm always such a languages dork, y'all's variable names do not have to be in English. Like if you're more comfortable in another
totally.
language, yeah. This whole global English thing in programming can like get directly in the sea. I say in a very English idiom.
So that's where we stop.
Yeah, that's where we stop.
It's homework time.
I mean,
Now,
not for them, for all of us.
this is where we will stop doing this lesson, and it looks like a lot. So the homework is in your own time. We've already learned the core concepts. The rest of these serve to practice them. Go through the rest of these. Tomorrow we'll start by building a music player.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Wait. Find for each map join.
Which really is going to teach us how to work with arrays and strings some more.
Okay, but like there's nothing scary or bad.
Ooh, I got a comment here from Defang. On the contrary, you want variables to be in English because ideally you're not the only one reading the code. Very fair point. I've worked it with German companies where like the code's in English, of course, but the variables are in German.
Oh, so I was gonna say, like, do you know what? You don't always have to. It's a very, very, very silly thing to say in English, but I'm just like, look, you don't always have to like make things super, super easy for the English speaker. I mean, I guess if you're new on a team, you do. So yes, if you're on a team that's working primarily in English, absolutely yes, yes, yes. But like if you're starting your own thing, you're working over to search for like or especially if you're working on something that's for a specific language community or for yeah. And I'm absolutely like howling into the void where I'm like, yeah, no, we don't have to think about things in a global English context. But really admitting that in tech, it often is the way people ask you to work. Um, I'm
Oh,
describing a future I'd like, not the present we live in.
let's look at some questions. Oh, I love this one from Eric. I wonder when I need to program in JavaScript for a living, how am I going to come up with these solutions? For me, it seems way too hard. I think I need to practice, etc., and a bit more practice. Your comment got cut off because YouTube limits how many. Oh, and Scar's following up on it. What happens in the real world? Do junior programmers write stuff like this, or do they actually read and augment, update, and fix them? And Jess, you want to go
I'd say
first?
a combination of both. So even
Yeah.
though I'm not great at JavaScript, other programming stuff I'm more comfortable with, the core components, the core building blocks of programming, you'll just be able to be like, "Oh yeah, I need this program to do A and B and C. Oh, that's a for loop. Oh, that's an if else." So the components of the properties, the aspects of a language as you become comfortable with them, those are going to be sort of like building blocks you can just pull out of your heart and put into your code. But especially for junior folks, you're going to get to points where you're like, how would I do this? And have to redo the logic a couple times. Yeah. So it's a combination of some of these things will just start to flow in a way that feels a little magical sometimes. Some of these you will have to iterate over and again. But Scar's point that, hey, if you're a junior and you're working on something that's not your own project, there's very likely existing code here that you're updating and changing and working with other people on.
Yep. To add to that just a little bit from my experience, what makes the difference between someone with not a lot of experience and more experience is the patterns they recognize. Is what they say to themselves, "Oh, I think this is somewhere where I have to do something like um I have to do something like add HTML to an existing element. I have no idea how to do that. Let me go on to my uh, search engine of choice, JavaScript, append HTML to div. You're usually going to find stuff that you can use. For example, look at this. Element.append lets me append node objects after the last child of element. Yeah, so you can you can look. This is what I do like 90% of the time. I'm just looking stuff up based on stuff that I remember as patterns. And like, which one is best? Going back to this, for example, yeah, okay, do I need this or do I need append? I'll try one, I'll try the other. As Jess always puts it, get weird. I love what Monica's saying here. I found picking Python up again way easier than before by understanding the concepts from JavaScript. That's because you're recognizing patterns from JavaScript, these concepts, these building blocks, as Jess put it, and saying like, oh yeah, this is kind of like a for loop in Python.
Ooh, so I want to grab this from Kristen because I think this is a oh, we're both doing it at the same time.
Sorry.
Because this is a term that we'll hear and I really, really like it. So Kristen's saying, hey, do you know what? Sometimes I'll write a little pseudocode and then start Googling or web searching. Some of us, very, very, very DuckDuckGo, Ecosia. Like there, it's not 1998, but there is still more than one search engine. But none of the rest of them are verbs anymore. But write a little bit of pseudocode. And this is like writing yourself little.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's not code that runs, and it's not code that's intended to run. It's like a little shorthand. So I might say, and I might say for loop that goes through this list, or I might say loop that goes through this list here. So just sort of breaking down the conceptual aspects of the logic we'll need on the page.
Yeah. So. Oh.
Oh, no.
Did I I was just looking at the next question.
Go.
Sorry. Oh yeah, Mitch says, okay, so the for of syntax iterates directly through the indexes of the array from first to last. I just wanted to come back here and say, no, it doesn't. Because
Hey, what? you were smiling, so I was like, yeah, that's right. I was like, oh.
So an index is that number, right? But I've just got items here. There's no indexes. I'm not iterating through the indexes. I'm iterating through the items of that list, the objects in that list, the puppies in that basket.
So I don't care about, so if I'm using this for of syntax, I'm not viewing the basket of puppies as a basket, as an array. I'm individually appreciating every puppy as I reach it.
Correct.
I was, yeah. I should add, no one should send me any puppies, please.
So Steven says here, it seems almost like a method, which I guess the for of.
Yeah.
Which I guess loops are kind of like hidden methods under the hood. Yeah, it's a shorthand. It is a different way of declaring and iterating through all of the items in an array. Love this from Kristen. JavaScript is iterating it for us under the hood, though, right? Yeah, it is. We're still iterating through the items in the array. We just don't care about indexes. Indexes, more than one index.
Do you know what? In my day job, I have to say the plural of corpus a lot.
It's not corpuses?
No.
Is it?
So it's I'm like 30. I think it's corpora. But I also thought it was corpuses, and I know that whichever one I use confidently is the wrong one unless I've swapped it out for the right one yet. So it's one of those. Corpo. It's now corpo.
I like
it's not. It's corpora, isn't it?
Let's Tina says corpi.
Right. It it is corpora. Okay, cool.
Let's bring in this last question
it's the
from
title of a academic journal. I'm gonna mute me because I'm just gonna go ooh a lot.
You're totally fine. Jane's asking, how do I access the first value in the array using const item of list syntax? Great question. So what you're wondering is how if I'm looking up these items in the list, how do I look up the first one? A way to do that is Because we know how to get the first one using the bracket syntax. Getting the zeroth one.
The zeroth.
The one at index 0. So if we look here, there's hello, hello. Then there's hello, friend. Oh, I like this actually.
Hello, hello.
Hello, enemies. Hello, and.
So this will always give us the first one on the list and then the item associated with it. So cool. What we're doing here, I'm saying for each item in the list.
Yep.
Still the same, still chill. We're still chill with it. Please console log, please show me the first thing in the list. So
Yep.
that what's in the 0th position, but then also show me where we're at, like the position, the item we're looking at as we iterate through.
Not the position because there's no index.
Not the position. We're not doing that. We're not building an index. It's chill.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this for of is much more in the moment. So it's not like, here's where I am in this index I've built. It's like, hey, here's what I'm focused on right now. And Stephen makes a good point. List can be named anything, item can be named everything, but it's just us saying like for X of Y is not helpful. Are you giving it actual puppy names?
These are all the dogs that have been in my life.
Oh, for puppy of list. Okay.
Puppy. So yes, this can be called anything.
Fred and Fiona are our top tier dog names. Just Leopold's very good as well, but like I love a pet name where it's just like a little guy. You'd be like, oh yeah, that's Gary. But like a beagle? All right.
Even though we generally defer to items in the array node. Yeah, exactly. So we can call this whatever we like.
Yeah. So we called it list and items because they are individual things in a list, but it doesn't have to be called list either.
Oh, Jane, I was hoping you wouldn't ask. When do we use the for in loop? Okay, fine. We'll look at the for in loop. And I apologize in advance. Also, please, I'm never ever I'm not upset. I'm very happy that you asked. I'm just being silly. Let's have an object here.
Okay.
Y'all are gonna hate me. Apple. Let's say we have 5 apples. Banana. I told do not be sorry, Jane. This is good. I have 6 bananas. Food with C. Cantaloupe. I had the same problem the other day.
Why would you? Nope, none of my business.
So,
it's like, why would
did
you
I spell it wrong?
No. Look, no. Hang on.
So there is the for in loop, which, unlike the for of loop, iterates over the keys of an object.
So you always have to say, oh no, you're setting const key.
Console log, if I could spell. Key. So there's our food object. Remember, it's got apple 5, banana 6, cantaloupe 1.
Okay.
So we're iterating through each key in food.
So just the key. Okay.
So just the property name.
Yeah. Okay.
It gets weirder.
No, I'm good.
You can also, I believe, I'm about to get this wrong. You can also have it iterate over the key and the value. I think. Maybe it's without the brackets? Nope. Oh, maybe it's like this. Nope. We will ignore that. Ignore what I said about the value. Maybe there's a way. We're not going to look at that today because I'm about.
Well, because I'm about to kick all of y'all out. So yeah,
I'm
Scar
almost done. I'm almost done. So what about what if you use for in on a list or in an array? This is where you're all going to hate me because it doesn't give you the value. Oh, y'all are going to hate this. It gives you, so if you use for in on an array, it iterates through. Maybe y'all can look at that and guess what it is. 0, 1, 2, 3. What do we think that is?
That's the
0,
That's the
1, 2, and 3.
what? No, there's 4 of those. Why are there 4 of those?
Because I have 4 dogs.
Oh, this is for the dogs. I thought we were still looking at the
This is
fruit.
the
I was
array.
like, no, that's fine. Okay.
So Stephen B's got it. Neardev has got it. Tina's got it. It's the indices of the array. The indexes, the indices. Yeah, I think you're right, Stephen B. It is indexes. So if you accidentally use for in on a loop, on an array, and you're accidentally seeing 0, 1, 2, and 3 instead of the values,
that's what's gone wrong.
That's what's gone wrong. So Jane,
I love how you've just taught us a brand new thing, and you're like, if you accidentally use this, I'll be like, we wouldn't have used it if you didn't tell us.
It happens to me all the time. So where did somebody put it really well? I'm so sorry. Give me 1 sec.
No, nothing is wrong.
Jane put it very well. Of for arrays, in for objects. Couldn't have put it any better myself.
Of an array, in an object. Of an array, in an object.
Oh,
Of an
I like
array,
that.
in an object. Because like this is a very me having taught primary school, but like I really like anything where I can have a little hand gesture. And I'm gonna completely forget the overlying context, but of an array in an object, that's just done. That's in my head now. Like,
Can I say something that hopefully will be reassuring? I never in my life remember which one I have to use. I always have to look it up.
okay, yeah. So there we go. It's hopeless. We'll never ever learn it. But some of you will. Some of you will be like, yes, it's everybody's just going to have stuff where it just doesn't stick. And that's going to be the one silly thing they have to look up. And it's not even silly. Yeah.
I'm so sorry that we kept this all over time. Just wanted to make sure we got all of those questions answered.
Tomorrow we'll do something that's actually fun. Hopefully and we're going to have a guest host so you can get a chance to have a little break.
Thank you all for joining. If you have any more questions, feel free to join in on the Discord. And I'll see you all at the next one.
Bye, all.
Bye for now.